And as I sat there in the Burger King and I had 5 hours to kill now, having not gotten very encouraging responses from friends, uh, I realized that God was saying to me, have mercy. Have mercy on yourself. You're human. This is the way I designed you to be human, to be embodied, to be from a place that people don't immediately recognize, to not look like your nation, to not sound like anything, to seemingly come from nowhere. And yet this is exactly who I've made you to be. It's not a mistake. And I recalled when I had visited Uganda on a missions trip, and I had taken a team there, and we were supposed to be doing construction of a new church build, and I got I got really sick, and I remember waking up in the middle of the night, and I had only a torch because we had no electricity. We were sleeping on the floor on mattresses, and I could feel my skin tingling, and these it just felt so unusual. And I turned my torchlight on, and I was shining on my skin to try and see what was happening. And I could see almost like worms moving under my skin. And I was like, this cannot be happening. I must be hallucinating. And I remember biting my tongue and just lying back on my mattress and going, this is not happening. This is not happening. And eventually, after a few hours, I managed to fall back asleep. And in the morning, I woke up and I could feel something was not right about my face. My whole head was swollen to 2 or 3 times its normal size, and I could hardly see out of my eyes. They became slits, and I was really worried, like, this is not normal. And I had convinced myself that the welts that I saw moving across my skin in the middle of the night weren't real. They were just a hallucination. But now I woke up in the morning and my head was swollen 2-3 times the size, and immediately other people started to notice. So the people around me were like, "Whoa, Aleck, what's happened to your head?" And I was like, "I have no idea. This is insane." So I knew I wasn't hallucinating anymore, sadly. And then Ugandan walked by, and I was like, "Help me!" And he said, "What's wrong with your head?" And I said, "I hoped you would tell me. Maybe you've had this before. Maybe you're familiar with what's happening." It turned out I had cerebral malaria, which, if you're going to get malaria, don't get that one. Try the other strains. They're much better, much easier on your health, much quicker to recover from. And so by the time I realized that I had malaria, it takes about 11 days to appear in your system for the symptoms to appear. And it was advanced, excuse me, by the time that I realized I was sick. With the head swelling and with an inability to move, I couldn't walk anywhere. I had no energy. I was throwing up. I had diarrhea. And I was lying on my mattress, and I just wanted to be anywhere but where my body was. And I wanted God to heal me immediately. I wanted to be beamed up to go somewhere else. Because I didn't want to be in my body while my body committed mutiny. And of course I had to go on these vitamin treatments, and I had to have injections. And I eventually went back to England, where I was working as a missionary at the time. And I had to go to all of these different tropical diseases clinics because I didn't know what to do, and I didn't know how my body could recover. I couldn't be anywhere alone because I would faint. So I had recurring malaria for a year. And everywhere that I went, I was afraid that I would fall over or faint in public, which happened quite often in the YWAM community that I was a part of. Often during a meal or during a conversation, suddenly my peripheral vision would go black, and then I would just faint. I remember I was doing a work duty, and I was painting on the base, and I was up the stairwell on a ladder with a roller on a pole, and that's when the malaria hit me, and there was like a rainbow of color as I fell on the stairs, and it became so normal. People on the base would say, "Oh no, Aleck has fainted again. Could someone grab his arms and his legs and take him to his bed?" And it took a year of that. Just never really being alone because I was afraid to be in a bus stop by myself and this would happen. Couldn't drive or do any of the things that I would normally be able to do. And then at the end of that year, I was so tired of my body committing mutiny and not being reliable and not being able to live normally. And we had a national conference in Wales, and And the speaker of that meeting said, "Does anybody want prayer?" And I decided, well, this is a good time. This is as good a time as any. And I went up for prayer after the meeting. I still don't remember his name or anything about him. But he prayed for me, and I fainted again. But this time not because of malaria, but under the power of the Holy Spirit. And when I stood up, I was immediately healed. I've never had any of those symptoms since then. It was an absolute miracle, something that medicine could not have done for me, but that God did for me in his grace and in his mercy. And I remember sitting in the Burger King, and almost like Star Trek, what I wanted was to be beamed up from where I was in the Burger King and then to be beamed down in the airport where I was supposed to be, because my body was the problem. I wished I didn't have a body. I wish I could have sprouted wings. I was happy to learn how to ski. Anything that would resolve this issue of my body is in the wrong place. My body is what is letting me down. This thing that I have to drag around like a ball and chain every day, it's a weight on me. I wish I could be rid of it. I wish I could be spiritual. I don't want to be human anymore. I don't like the physicality. I don't like when my body doesn't work as it should. And I want to be superior to my body. I want to become more and more spiritual and less human. And this was a deep concern for me as I sat in the Burger King, because God was saying to me, have mercy. Have mercy. And I remember when I was at my sickest with malaria and I was lying on my mattress and nobody wanted to be around me. I didn't want to be there. And I remember God saying to me, almost in an audible voice, he said to me, I've never loved you more. And I was like, wow, that's just cruel. Why would you say that to me? And what he was saying to me was, I love you because you're you, not because of anything that you do. I love you because you're my image. I love you because you're human. I love you because even as you lie there helpless before me, I love you. And nothing you can do would change that. So as I sit in the Burger King, I'm thinking to myself, yeah, well, I'm human. I'm limited, which means that I'm going to make mistakes because I don't understand everything that's happening around me. I didn't ask the right questions. I didn't have the right concerns in the time that I could have had them. If I realized that I shouldn't have got off the plane, I had a 20-minute window in order to rush back on and be saved and go to my destination, not be stuck where I was. And then I realized not only am I limited, but I'm broken. You know, there's aspects of me that I'm just not whole. I don't see things as I should. I have missing parts of me. I'm dislocated in myriads of ways. I'm a sinful, broken human being. And at the same time, God has gifted me. He's gifted me with a conscience. He's gifted me with a sound mind. He's gifted me with emotions. He's given me an ability to be fearfully and wonderfully made, even in my humanity, even in this body, that people don't recognize, that commits mutiny when I have cerebral malaria, that attacks my brain. That might explain some things about me. But in all of this, I'm human. And he loves my humanity. He loves me. He knows that I'm an embodied spiritual being. He knows that he can teach me through myriads of things. He can teach me through my limitation. He can draw me close through my brokenness. And he can help me to become the best that I can be through my giftedness. And this is really key for us as human beings. Where are you feeling your limitation today? Where are you feeling your brokenness? Even in this moment. And where do you recognize even your giftedness as a part of you being human, made in the image of God? So I sat there in the Burger King, having eaten my meal, and I knew that God was with me and that he loved me. And I knew that he would deliver me just as he's delivered many, many human beings over the course of human history. Taking them from an exile into an exodus, taking them from being slaves and servants and refugees and asylum seekers to being sons and daughters of God, to coming home to a promised land flowing with milk and honey, and that he would do it again for me in this figurative moment, in this kind of archetype of Burger King, that God was preparing something better for me. So I waited there until midnight, and at midnight the doors flew open And I recognized the YWAMers who were on staff of the school, and they said, "Aleck, we're here. We're here to take you home, back to the base." And so I got in the car with them. I apologized profusely for my mistake, and they were so gracious. And they said, "Don't worry, we're here. We'll take you home." And of course, we arrived at the base at about 6 in the morning. And then I was up at about 9:30 to teach for the week. I don't know what I said that day. I don't know if any of it made any sense. But I was so grateful for people that cared for me, who were human toward me, who could identify with my situation and treat me with compassion, and could be part of the solution to the problem that I had inadvertently created. I hope that encourages you today. It's a little microcosm of an Aleck moment, and I make many of these moments countless times a day. And God is there to tell me, have mercy on yourself. In that moment in the Burger King, I wanted nothing more than one of those Star Trek devices where you just press a button and you get beamed up and dropped somewhere else. I wanted to be angelic. I wanted to be spiritual. I didn't want to have a body. But God was telling me, no, you are fearfully and wonderfully made. You are my image because you are human. Because you have a body, you are my image bearer.